Hello everybody, this is Gregory with how I lost over 100 pounds and have kept it off for 30 plus years, where there should be no hesitance in your weight loss and your weight maintenance. Today we're going to talk about 5 inexpensive healthy foods that you can eat, so there's no excuse not to eat healthily. Now before we begin, if you need help with your weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also in the episode notes you'll see links to my website, 100poundsoffor30years.com. You'll see my podcasts, my books, and if you appreciate my content, please right now hit the like button and post a comment. And if you really like it, there is a link for PayPal to make a donation. All right, so we have an episode on not to have the loser mentality. The loser mentality, one of the classic hallmarks of it is to always say but. Somebody has a solution, yeah, but. And this is one of the classic ones. Well, I'm poor, I don't have a lot of money to eat healthily. Or you can eat healthily for cheap. Yeah, but I don't have a lot of money. Now look, understand, this is really an excuse. Now, this episode is American based. I understand that maybe people in different countries are watching this, and so perhaps your currency and foods that are cheap over there might not be cheap over here and vice versa. So I understand this is kind of American based. The first thing you have to understand is you're making excuses. If we think about like how much we spend on a cup of coffee, coffee used to be 75 cents at the convenience store. Now it's $4, $3. Yeah, you have money to do that every day. That's $21 a week just on coffee. Or you have money to eat out, or money for Uber Eats. Like, it's all about allocating our money, making priorities of things. So when people say, "Yeah, I want to eat healthily, but organic, grass-fed cattle meat is too expensive, or wild caught fish is too expensive," I understand those are expensive. But I would tell you to look at your budget and how much money you're spending on fast food and restaurants, on alcohol. And you could probably afford that organic grass-fed meat. It's all a question of priorities. But let's go through 5 quick foods that are relatively inexpensive, that are nutrient dense. Because of course, there's a lot of foods at the grocery store that are relatively cheap that are just garbage. And same for fast food. You can go to Taco Bell and get a bunch of cheesy bean and rice burritos for 99 cents. Or Wendy's and get the cheeseburgers, but that's all garbage. It's all trans fats and it's just garbage. Tons of additives and so forth. So what can we get at the grocery store? Well, we know what we shouldn't be getting, which is most of the middle aisle foods. So chips and anything flour-based and cereals, it's just all garbage. And they're expensive. People like Procter & Gamble and Kraft, they know they make money off the packaged food, right? It doesn't get bad. They shoot them up with tons of preservatives so they can stay on the shelves for a long time. Think of like the dollar stores. The dollar stores are just replete with these things because they're cheap and they don't get bad. So stay away from those foods because they're also expensive. But let's look at 5 cheap foods that are pretty nutrient dense. In no particular order. Number 1 is eggs. You can still get eggs pretty cheap. You can get a dozen eggs in most places for under $2. Eggs are little protein balls. I mean, they're perfect if you're keto. They're perfect if you're low carb. You can eat them several different ways. You can eat them raw. You can eat them hard boiled. You can eat them scrambled. There's many ways that you can eat it. Eggs are very cheap. And ideally you want to get kind of pastured eggs, but regular organic eggs are good enough. Number 2, lentils. Lentils are dirt cheap. The whole lentil legume family is relatively cheap. So whether that be beans, canned or uncooked, or lentils, canned or uncooked, these are cheap and they have a lot of fiber, but they are nutrient dense, a lot of phytonutrients, and much of the world cooks with lentils, and it's cheap. You can get a can of beans for 75 cents, even with inflation. Black beans, pinto beans, there's a lot of different beans. Of course, I would drain the fluid out of them and try to avoid the pork and beans because the pork and beans have a lot of added sugar. But beans, lentils, whether they're dry or canned, very cheap. What else? Unripened bananas. Bananas are dirt cheap. 49 cents a pound, 60 cents a pound. But Gregory, don't they have a lot of sugar? Yes, that's why I'm saying unripened. There's 2 benefits you get from unripened bananas. One is when they're green to the point where it's hard to peel them off, they have a quarter of the sugar. Like a typical ripe banana, you're looking around 20 grams of sugar. But if you get an unripened banana, yes, they don't taste as good. This is why you throw them in smoothies. 6 grams of sugar. So they're very low in sugar. The other thing is that they're great prebiotic foods. We'll have a future episode on the importance of the microbiome. Prebiotics are foods that naturally grow your probiotic or beneficial bacteria. So unripened bananas are a very cheap form of a prebiotic, along with, let's say, onions, for example, too, which are relatively cheap. So unripened bananas are dirt cheap. Eat them when they're unripened. Number 4 is going to be canned vegetables, in particular the cruciferous vegetables, so like canned spinach, for example. Now, a lot of people don't like spinach. I get it. I understand. But they are the most nutrient dense of all the vegetables. In general, I would tell you, and we'll have a future episode on vegetables, but the more colorful, the more phytonutrient dense they are. But spinach, for example, there's a reason why Popeye eats it. It's very good for you. And look, I know canned has problems. It's lined with BPA. But again, we're looking at things that poor people or people who say they don't have money can purchase. And canned spinach, canned kale are good choices. And the 5th one we're going to talk about is tuna. Tuna is very cheap. I would get it in water because the vegetable oil is typically industrial grade vegetable oil, which will rot out your coronary arteries. We'll have a future episode on the problems with industrial grade vegetable oils. But I would get tuna, and again, like eggs, it's a cheap source of protein. Yes, there is some mercury issues, but not compared to swordfish or mackerel. And unless you're eating 20 cans of tuna every week, it's not really going to be a problem. It's pure protein. And yes, I understand the tuna is mostly raised in fish farms, but again, we're looking for cheap, inexpensive alternatives that are relatively healthy. And if you look at canned tuna, canned spinach, lentils, unripened bananas, and eggs, those are all dirt cheap, and they're all can easily be purchased. Okay, so next time you're tempted to say, oh, I can't cook at home, everything's too expensive. No, it's not. You just need to know what to shop, and also you got to stop having the cognitive dissonance and saying that that's the excuse, because really the excuse is you just want to get a cheeseburger from Wendy's. Guys, post in the comments. Let me know of other cheap alternative foods that are nutrient dense. I'd like to hear from you. Hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Until next time, take care. God bless and pray.